Most parents who decide to invest for their child instinctively open a savings account at their bank. It feels responsible, it feels right, and it is actually one of the least efficient ways to do it. And I will show you exactly why in a moment. I had a baby boy in August 2025, and when I started looking into what I actually wanted to do for him, I found that the options most people don't know exist are the ones that compound the hardest. What kind of financial life did I want him to have? What would I do differently than what was done for me? And what could I actually start doing right now, while he is 10 months old and has absolutely no opinion about any of this? So today I want to share the 4 steps I am taking to make my son a millionaire. And they are steps you can follow too, for your own kids, starting with as little as $200 a month. The maths is the easy part. There is a harder part, one that has nothing to do with which account you open or which ETF you choose. And I will come back to it at the end. Let us start with the maths, because the maths is what makes this feel possible rather than impossible. If you invest $200 a month from the day your child is born and you stop contributing entirely when they turn 25, so you are only actively investing for 25 years, and that money earns an average annual return of 8%, which is a reasonable long-term assumption for a diversified share portfolio. Here is what happens. By the time they are 25, the account holds around $190,000. You contributed $60,000 of your own money to get there. Then you stop. You do not touch it. You do not add to it. You just leave it. By the time your child is in their late 40s, that $190,000 has quietly grown into $1 million. And by the time they reach retirement age in their late 60s, it is worth around $4.6 million. You put in $60,000, you get back $4.6 million. That is what compounding does when you give it enough time. And if you are not starting from birth, maybe your child is already 2 or 3. The numbers still work. They just require a slightly larger monthly contribution to reach the same destination. Time is the one variable you cannot buy back, but you can still use what you have. Now the question is, how do you actually set this up? Because the way most parents instinctively do it turns out to be one of the least efficient ways to do it. And that brings me to step 1. The first step is to open the right kind of account. The instinct is to open a savings account in your child's name at a bank. Cute little piggy bank imagery, interest rates that sound reasonable. But here is the problem. The ATO applies penalty tax rates to unearned income earned by minors. If your child earns more than $416 a year in interest or dividends held in their own name, the tax rate on that income jumps to 66%. Yes, you read that right. Up to a threshold of $1,307. And then 45% above that. In a savings account earning 4 to 5%, it does not take long before you are losing more than half the growth to tax. So a kid's savings account, despite feeling safe and sensible, is one of the least efficient places to put this money. Here is what to consider instead, and I want to give you 3 genuine options because the right one depends on your situation. The first option is a custodial or trust account with a brokerage. This is an account where you, the parent, are the trustee, meaning you control the investments, but you are holding them on behalf of your child. When they turn 18, ownership transfers to them. Platforms that offer this kind of structure in Australia include Stockspot, which has no management fees on kids' accounts up to $10,000, and Superhero, which charges 0 brokerage on ETF purchases. Both have low minimums and can be set up online in under 15 minutes. The tax on income is paid by you as the trustee at your marginal rate. So if you are a higher earner, it is worth understanding what that means for your tax position before you choose this path. The second option is an investment bond. This is a structure that sits outside the penalty tax rules entirely. The earnings inside an investment bond are taxed internally at a flat 30%, meaning they do not show up on your personal tax return, and your child does not need a tax file number. After the bond has been running for 10 full years, you can withdraw the entire amount, including all the growth, completely tax-free. There is also a rule called the 125% rule that allows you to increase your contributions each year without resetting that 10-year clock. Providers in Australia include Generation Life and Resolution Life. Because investment bonds sit at the intersection of tax law and insurance law, I would genuinely recommend speaking to a financial advisor before you go down this path, but it is worth knowing it exists. The third option is simpler than it sounds. Invest in your own name and gift the money to your child later. There is no gift tax in Australia, so this is entirely legal and straightforward. The income along the way is taxed at your marginal rate, and when you eventually sell the investments or transfer the shares, a CGT event is triggered. Though from July 2027, the 50% discount gives way to inflation indexing and a 30% minimum tax. This option suits parents who want simplicity above all else, and particularly those in lower income brackets where the tax hit is manageable. Those are your 3 paths for step 1. Pick the one that fits your situation, or better yet, speak to a financial advisor who can look at your full picture. Step 2 is where you decide what to actually invest in inside that account. And my recommendation here is boring. Deliberately, intentionally boring, because boring is what compounds. Index-based exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, are the backbone of most long-term investing strategies for a reason. They are low-cost, broadly diversified, and they do not require you to pick winners. You are not betting on one company. You are betting on entire economies, and historically that has been a reliable bet over long time horizons. The temptation when you first open an investment account is to pick individual companies. A brand you love, a sector you think is about to move. But individual company risk is real, and the research consistently shows that most actively managed funds do not outperform a simple index over long time periods. You do not need to predict the future. You just need to be in the market consistently for a long time. A few ETFs worth knowing about for Australian investors. VAS tracks the Australian share market. It gives you exposure to the biggest companies listed on the ASX. VGS gives you global exposure, covering developed markets across the United States, Europe, Japan, and beyond. And IVV tracks the S&P 500, which is the 500 largest companies listed in the United States. It has delivered strong long-term returns and is one of the most widely held ETFs in the world. You do not need all 3. Many long-term investors simply split between VAS and VGS and leave it there. If you would like me to do a full investing 101 video breaking down exactly how ETFs work and how to choose between them, drop a comment below and I will put it together. Step 3 is the one that sounds obvious but is genuinely the thing most people skip. Automate it. Set up a recurring transfer on the day you get paid. $200 straight into your investment account before it ever touches your spending. Not at the end of the month with whatever is left over, because whatever is left over has a way of becoming nothing. Payday? Automatic? Done. You will not miss it because you will never see it sitting in your account to begin with, and it takes the emotion out of investing. You will not be watching the market and deciding whether this month feels like a good time. You will just be investing through good months and bad ones, which is exactly how compounding works in your favor over time. And this is the harder part I mentioned at the start, the one that has nothing to do with which account you open or how much you invest. Step 4 is teaching your child to be financially literate, because the goal is not just to hand him $1 million. The goal is to hand him $1 million and have him know exactly what to do next. An inherited portfolio without financial literacy is just a lump sum waiting to disappear. It starts earlier than you think. When he is 2 or 3, he will not understand compound interest, but he can understand that money is something you earn, save, and spend, and not always in that order. When he is 5 or 6, he can have a small amount of his own, some birthday money, a bit of pocket money, that he actually gets to decide what to do with. Not guided, actually decided. Because mistakes made early, with small amounts, are some of the best financial education there is. By the time he is in primary school, I want him to know the account exists and roughly what it is doing. Not the mechanics of ETFs, but the idea that money can work while you sleep. And that patience is a financial strategy, not just a virtue. By secondary school, I want him involved in the actual decisions. What should we add this month? What do the markets look like? Not because he needs to be a financial expert at 16, but because familiarity removes fear. The goal is for investing to feel like something he already knows how to do, not something he has to figure out from scratch the day he starts his first real job. By the time he is ready to take over the account, I want him to feel like it was already his. Because in every way that matters, it is. Here are your tonight actions. 4 things you can do right now to get this moving. 1. Decide which account structure suits you. Custodial account, investment bond, or in your own name. And if you are not sure, book a call with a financial advisor. This week, not next month. 2. Open the account. Most platforms take less than 15 minutes to set up online. Do not wait until you feel ready, because the cost of waiting is measured in years of compounding you will never get back. 3. Set up an automatic transfer for $200 or whatever amount works for your budget. Scheduled for your next payday. Name it something that reminds you what it is for. 4. Share this video with the parent who needs to hear it, because the person you send this to might be the one who needed a reason to start and just did not know where to look. Today, my son is 10 months old. The best time to start was the day he was born. The second best time is right now. Different kind of video today. If it landed for you, subscribe. This is exactly the kind of content I'll keep making.